The silence of space was suddenly broken by an unexpected transmission. It wasn't the kind of message Earth was used to receiving. The image of a towering alien figure appeared on every screen around the world. Its skin was a pale, sickly hue, its eyes glowing with cold indifference. The alien spoke in a language that was instantly translated into every known language on Earth. "We are the Galactic Empire," the voice boomed, full of authority. "We demand tribute from your world. Resources, technology, and humans for our labor colonies. Fail to comply, and your planet will be destroyed. You have 1 Earth week to respond. Our fleet is already en route." The screen flickered, showing a fleet of ships, vast and intimidating, looming over a distant star. Their weapons were visible, enormous and deadly, designed to crush anything that stood in their way. Panic spread like wildfire across the globe. World leaders scrambled to comprehend what had just happened. The Empire was known throughout the galaxy for its immense power and ruthless control over countless planets. To think they had now set their sights on Earth sent shivers down every spine. This wasn't just a threat, it was a guarantee. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity had, and their numbers were overwhelming. Earth had never faced anything like this. Governments convened in emergency sessions, trying desperately to figure out how to respond. Some were for immediate submission, hoping to avoid destruction. Others wanted to resist, but the thought of going up against an empire with superior technology seemed insane. In just a few hours, the entire world went into chaos. The message from the Galactic Empire echoed in every corner of society, from the streets to the highest chambers of power. How could humanity possibly stand up to such a threat? But in the midst of the panic and confusion, there was one person who wasn't afraid. General Bonner, the leader of Earth's elite military, sat in his war room, staring at the screen, his expression unreadable. He knew the situation was dire. Earth was weak in comparison to the Galactic Empire. The Empire's fleet alone could wipe out entire continents. The demands for tribute were simply a formality before the annihilation. But Bonner had something the Empire didn't know about, a secret. As the world's leaders argued, Bonner called for a private meeting. A select group of military officials gathered around him in the dimly lit room. The tension was palpable, but Bonner stood firm. "I have a plan," he said quietly, but his words carried the weight of 1,000 battles. "We've been preparing for this day. We have a fleet minus 500,000 warships, all cloaked, all armed with the most advanced weapons known to humanity." A collective gasp filled the room. These ships had been built in secret over the course of decades, hidden from prying eyes. Earth had kept the project a secret, knowing that one day they would need to defend themselves against a threat far greater than anything they had ever faced. The ships were unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. They were equipped with cloaking technology, energy shields, and weapons powerful enough to take down a massive fleet. Bonner's eyes burned with determination. "The Empire thinks we are weak, that we are nothing more than a primitive planet. But they're wrong. We've prepared for this moment. It's time to show them that Earth will not bow to anyone." The room fell silent as the implications of his words sank in. The fate of the world rested on these hidden ships. There was no room for failure. General Bonner stood up and moved to the giant holographic display in the center of the room. It showed a detailed map of Earth's hidden fleet, all positioned in secret bases around the planet. Thousands of technicians and military personnel had worked tirelessly to make this fleet a reality, and now, the time had come to deploy it. He turned to the room, his voice steady but filled with resolve. "We don't send them tribute. We send them a message that says, we will fight back." The decision was made. Earth would not surrender. They would fight, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Earth's military forces scrambled to prepare the fleet for battle. The warships, hidden beneath layers of advanced cloaking devices, activated their engines and powered up their weapons. General Bonner oversaw the operations personally, ensuring that everything was in place. As the final preparations were made, a heavy silence fell over the room. Everyone knew that this was the moment they had all been preparing for, and there would be no turning back. At the same time, the Galactic Empire's fleet continued to move toward Earth, their shadows stretching across the stars. The Empire's warships were vast, their weapons capable of annihilating entire cities with a single shot. They had never expected resistance from a planet as primitive as Earth. They saw it as just another insignificant world to conquer. But they had no idea what was coming. As Earth's warships began to power up, General Bonner sent a message to the Empire. It wasn't a plea for mercy or a request for peace. It was a challenge, a declaration of war. The message was simple, yet powerful. We will not give you tribute. We will not bow to your demands. You have awakened a force you cannot defeat. We will fight back. The Empire received the message, and its leaders were stunned. The arrogance they had so long relied on was shaken. How could a small, weak planet like Earth possibly stand up to them? But they were already too far along, their fleet already in transit. The battle had already begun. As the message was broadcast, Earth's warships began to emerge from their cloaks. Slowly, one by one, they decloaked, revealing themselves to the galaxy. The sight was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. 500,000 warships, each one a formidable force in its own right, each one ready to fight for humanity's survival. Their sleek, powerful designs glimmered under the light of distant stars, and the hum of their engines filled the air. Earth's fleet had been built in secret, and now it was time to show the universe what humanity was capable of. As the ships gathered in formation, the world held its breath. General Bonner knew this was the beginning of a battle that would decide Earth's future. The Empire had made a grave mistake underestimating humanity. The first shot would be fired soon. But in that moment, Earth stood tall. They had made their decision. They would not go quietly into the night. They would fight. They would win. The shockwave from the Galactic Empire's demand had barely begun to settle, and already the human race was preparing for what could be the most significant battle in their history. General Bonner stood at the heart of Earth's war room, surrounded by officers, technicians, and analysts. The message from the Empire had shaken the world to its core, but Bonner's face was calm. The fate of humanity rested on his shoulders, and for him, the mission was clear. Earth would fight. But Earth wasn't going into this battle unprepared. For decades, humanity had been secretly building a fleet of warships, far more than any of the world's enemies could have imagined. This fleet wasn't just a collection of ships. It was the culmination of years of research, technological advancement, and sacrifices made by people who believed in humanity's right to stand tall in the universe. Bonner looked out at the massive holographic map of Earth's hidden fleet, now fully activated and ready for battle. A sea of warships spread across the display, each ship a marvel of human ingenuity. Cloaked and undetectable to the Empire's sensors, the fleet had been built in secret, hidden from the prying eyes of alien civilizations. It was humanity's last line of defense and their trump card. As the map zoomed in, the fleet's details became clearer. The warships were sleek and powerful, designed to intimidate and destroy. Each ship was equipped with cloaking technology, rendering them invisible to enemy detection systems. But cloaking wasn't the only advantage Earth had. The warships were armed with energy shields capable of withstanding even the most powerful attacks from the Empire. And their weapons, energy cannons, plasma beams, and advanced missile systems, could obliterate entire fleets with a single strike. The fleet was not just a defensive force, it was a weapon of vengeance. Humanity had built it to show the galaxy that they were not weak, not helpless. They were not the underdogs anymore. The Empire had made a critical mistake by underestimating Earth. And now, Earth was going to show them just how wrong they were. In the war room, General Bonner's mind raced back to the beginning of this program. The memories were still fresh, despite the years that had passed. He could still see the early days, the whispered meetings in secret bunkers, the first blueprints of the warships, the first tests of cloaking technology. Earth had been a small player in the galactic game, but they had one thing the Empire didn't: determination. The secret military program, codenamed Project Valiant, had been humanity's insurance policy for decades. The program had started small, with basic prototypes and experimental weapons. But as time went on, the technology advanced, and the fleet grew. AI systems were integrated into the warships, giving them the ability to think and adapt in combat. Robotic soldiers were deployed to handle tasks too dangerous for humans. The ships became more powerful, more intelligent, and more deadly. By the time the Empire's fleet had begun its journey to Earth, humanity had assembled a force that could stand up to the greatest power in the galaxy. But it wasn't just the technology that had made this fleet a reality. It was the sacrifice. Bonner's mind drifted to the countless lives that had been lost in the development of Project Valiant. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, people who had given everything to ensure that Earth could defend itself. Their sacrifices were not in vain. Every decision, every risk, had brought humanity to this point. As Bonner looked at the map of the fleet, he couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. He thought of the families who had lost loved ones in the development of this project, the scientists who had died testing new weapons, the soldiers who had given their lives in secret operations. These were the people who had made this victory possible. Now it was up to him and the rest of Earth's military to honor their sacrifice. The fleet was ready, but Bonner knew it wasn't enough. The Empire's fleet vastly outnumbered Earth's. Even with the most advanced technology, humanity would be fighting an uphill battle. The Empire had thousands of ships, each one a weapon of unimaginable power. Their numbers and resources were overwhelming, but Bonner wasn't worried about that. He knew that technology alone wasn't enough to win a war. Strategy, unity, and the element of surprise would be Earth's greatest advantages. Bonner addressed the room, his voice steady but filled with determination. "We are the underdogs," he said, his eyes scanning the faces of the officers around him. "The Empire thinks we're nothing more than an insect beneath their boot. They think we'll bow to their demands. But we will show them that Earth will not be intimidated. We will fight, not because we have the most ships or the greatest weapons, but because we have something they don't. We have unity. We have the will to survive. And most importantly, we have the element of surprise." The officers nodded, their faces a mixture of fear and resolve. They understood the stakes. This wasn't just a battle for survival. This was humanity's chance to prove that they belonged in the galaxy. This was their chance to fight back against the tyranny of the Empire, to show that even the smallest players could stand up to the biggest powers. Bonner's voice grew stronger. "We will fight with everything we have. Our fleet is ready. Our strategy is in place. We will strike fast. We will strike hard. And we will show the Empire that they made a mistake when they thought they could crush us." As Bonner spoke, the officers moved to their stations, preparing for the battle ahead. The warships were already being deployed, their engines humming as they prepared to launch into space. The fleet was cloaked, invisible to the enemy, but every ship was alive with purpose. Every crew member knew their role, their responsibility, and their duty to the people of Earth. The battle wouldn't be easy. The Empire's fleet was massive, and their technology was advanced. But Earth had the advantage of surprise. The Empire hadn't expected a fight. They hadn't expected humanity to have the courage to stand up against them. They hadn't expected a fleet of 500,000 warships, all armed to the teeth and ready for battle. As the fleet moved into position, Bonner looked out over the map once more. It was time. The first shot would be fired soon. And when it was, the Empire would know that humanity was no longer a target. They were a force to be reckoned with. The message had already been sent. "We will not give you tribute. We will not bow to your demands. We will fight back." Now it was time to show them what Earth could do. The countdown had begun. The silent vastness of space was shattered as the Galactic Empire's fleet arrived at the outer edge of Earth's solar system. 1,000 warships, enormous and intimidating, hung in the blackness like dark gods ready to deliver their judgment. Their mission was clear. Earth had failed to send the tribute demanded of it, and now the time for negotiation had passed. Their only option was destruction. The secret military program, codenamed Project Valiant, had been humanity's insurance policy for decades. The program had started small, with basic prototypes and experimental weapons. But as time went on, the technology advanced, and the fleet grew. AI systems were integrated into the warships, giving them the ability to think and adapt in combat. Robotic soldiers were deployed to handle tasks too dangerous for humans. The ships became more powerful, more intelligent, and more deadly. By the time the Empire's fleet had begun its journey to Earth, humanity had assembled a force that could stand up to the greatest power in the galaxy. But it wasn't just the technology that had made this fleet a reality. It was the sacrifice. Bonner's mind drifted to the countless lives that had been lost in the development of Project Valiant. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, people who had given everything to ensure that Earth could defend itself. Their sacrifices were not in vain. Every decision, every risk, had brought humanity to this point. As Bonner looked at the map of the fleet, he couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt. He thought of the families who had lost loved ones in the development of this project, the scientists who had died testing new weapons, the soldiers who had given their lives in secret operations. These were the people who had made this victory possible. Now it was up to him and the rest of Earth's military to honor their sacrifice. The fleet was ready, but Bonner knew it wasn't enough. The Empire's fleet vastly outnumbered Earth's. Even with the most advanced technology, humanity would be fighting an uphill battle. The Empire had thousands of ships, each one a weapon of unimaginable power. Their numbers and resources were overwhelming, but Bonner wasn't worried about that. He knew that technology alone wasn't enough to win a war. Strategy, unity, and the element of surprise would be Earth's greatest advantages. Bonner addressed the room, his voice steady but filled with determination. "We are the underdogs," he said, his eyes scanning the faces of the officers around him. "The Empire thinks we're nothing more than an insect beneath their boot. They think we'll bow to their demands. But we will show them that Earth will not be intimidated. We will fight, not because we have the most ships or the greatest weapons, but because we have something they don't. We have unity. We have the will to survive. And most importantly, we have the element of surprise." The officers nodded, their faces a mixture of fear and resolve. They understood the stakes. This wasn't just a battle for survival. This was humanity's chance to prove that they belonged in the galaxy. This was their chance to fight back against the tyranny of the Empire, to show that even the smallest players could stand up to the biggest powers. Bonner's voice grew stronger. "We will fight with everything we have. Our fleet is ready. Our strategy is in place. We will strike fast. We will strike hard. And we will show the Empire that they made a mistake when they thought they could crush us." As Bonner spoke, the officers moved to their stations, preparing for the battle ahead. The warships were already being deployed, their engines humming as they prepared to launch into space. The fleet was cloaked, invisible to the enemy, but every ship was alive with purpose. Every crew member knew their role, their responsibility, and their duty to the people of Earth. The battle wouldn't be easy. The Empire's fleet was massive, and their technology was advanced. But Earth had the advantage of surprise. The Empire hadn't expected a fight. They hadn't expected humanity to have the courage to stand up against them. They hadn't expected a fleet of 500,000 warships, all armed to the teeth and ready for battle. As the fleet moved into position, Bonner looked out over the map once more. It was time. The first shot would be fired soon. And when it was, the Empire would know that humanity was no longer a target. They were a force to be reckoned with. The message had already been sent. "We will not give you tribute. We will not bow to your demands. "We will fight back." Now it was time to show them what Earth could do. The countdown had begun. The silent vastness of space was shattered as the Galactic Empire's fleet arrived at the outer edge of Earth's solar system. 1,000 warships, enormous and intimidating, hung in the blackness like dark gods ready to deliver their judgment. Their mission was clear. Earth had failed to send the tribute demanded of it, and now the time for negotiation had passed. Their only option was destruction. For Earth, this was a moment they had prepared for, but the moment still came with a sense of terror. The Empire's ships were beyond anything humanity had ever seen, and for a split second, the silence from Earth's side made it seem like the world was paralyzed. The Galactic Empire took this as a sign of weakness, an indication that Earth had either been cowed into submission, or, worse yet, had no defenses to fight back. Their arrogance was palpable, and the fleet advanced without caution, sure of their superiority. But then, a tremor in space broke the stillness. Without warning, the stars themselves seemed to shift as Earth's hidden fleet emerged from the shadows of invisibility. The ships were cloaked until now, invisible to the Empire's sensors, and now they revealed themselves in a thunderous, unexpected strike. Like a swarm of dark, jagged predators hunting in the night, Earth's 500,000 warships decloaked simultaneously, their forms appearing like looming shadows against the starry canvas of space. The Empire's fleet faltered, stunned by the sudden appearance of so many ships they had no idea were hidden in Earth's defenses. The odds had just shifted. Earth wasn't the weak target the Empire had assumed. Now, the battle had begun. General Bonner, aboard the lead warship, stood silently at the helm as the chaos erupted around him. His gaze was steely, knowing that the moment had arrived. The Empire's massive fleet immediately began launching missiles and energy blasts, their weapons lighting up space with streaks of deadly energy. The first waves of fire from the Empire's fleet were launched like a tidal wave of destruction, aimed at Earth's suddenly exposed ships. But humanity was ready. Earth's warships, though vastly outnumbered, were faster, smarter, and better equipped. As the first blasts of enemy fire whizzed by, Earth's ships maneuvered quickly, their advanced AI and cloaking technology allowing them to dodge the incoming attacks with deadly precision. Earth's warships were sleek and nimble, gliding through space like fighters rather than lumbering giants. They were equipped with energy shields that flickered to life just in time to absorb the brunt of the blasts, giving humanity's ships a moment to retaliate. The first battle was an explosion of chaos. Laser beams tore through space, arcing like lightning as Earth's ships fired back at the Empire's forces. Massive explosions ripped apart the enemy's ships as Earth's energy cannons hit their targets with devastating force. The Empire's ships were powerful, but Earth's technology had been designed with agility and precision in mind. They weren't simply shooting blindly. They were focused, executing battle tactics that took the Empire's forces by surprise. Orbital bombardment began, as Earth's ships released weaponized projectiles from their massive cannons, aiming them down on the Empire's cruisers in a deadly cascade of explosions. The blackness of space was illuminated by the fiery bursts, as the warships fired and dodged in a symphony of violence. The closest fight was taking place in the heart of the battle. Earth's ships, although smaller and less numerous, were engaged in fast-paced, close-quarters combat with the Empire's massive ships. Laser fire lit up the sky as enemy fighters and drones collided with Earth's ships, creating sparks and flashes in the blackness of space. The tension was palpable as Earth's pilots, skilled and determined, navigated their ships through the narrow gaps between enemy fire and exploding ships. The sight of space fighters weaving through debris, avoiding blasts, and striking back with precision made it clear. Earth's soldiers weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting with the ferocity of those who had been pushed to the edge. But despite Earth's tactical brilliance, the cost of battle was high. Earth's warships, though superior in agility and strategy, could not avoid all of the Empire's attacks. Several of Earth's ships were crippled in the battle, drifting helplessly as the Empire's relentless bombardment continued. The cost of victory was steep, and the battlefield was littered with debris, the remains of both human and alien ships floating like forgotten memories. General Bonner's hands gripped the console as he watched his ships engage in brutal combat. The explosions were deafening, and the viewports of the warships shook with each impact. But even as the warships tore into the Empire's forces, Bonner could not shake the sinking feeling in his gut. The loss of life was inevitable, both from Earth's side and the enemy. He watched, as if in slow motion, as one of Earth's ships was torn apart by a direct hit, its shields failing in a brilliant burst of fire. The crew members on that ship were now gone, nothing but the wreckage of their sacrifice. His thoughts flickered briefly to the families who would never see their loved ones again, to the men and women who had sacrificed their lives for this very moment. Bonner's heart tightened. This victory, no matter how sweet, came with a heavy toll. But there was no turning back now. Every battle had a cost, and this one would be no different. In the midst of the madness, Earth's fleet pressed on, relentless. The enemy's numbers were beginning to dwindle, but so were Earth's forces. The war was far from over, and Bonner knew that every moment brought them closer to either victory or destruction. The visual chaos of the battle was overwhelming. The once serene and calm expanse of space was now a war zone, a place where explosions lit up the darkness like fireworks, and the occasional violent burst of energy shot across the void. Ships collided with one another, sending shrapnel and debris scattering in all directions. It was as if the entire universe was holding its breath, witnessing the birth of a new era. As the battle raged on, Bonner's mind was still focused on the fight at hand. He knew that this was just the beginning. The Empire's fleet was vast, and this skirmish was only one battle in what would likely be a long, bloody war. But Earth had shown its power. They had proven that they were no longer just a speck on the map of the galaxy. They had struck back, against overwhelming odds, against a foe far stronger and more numerous. The tide of battle was slowly turning in Earth's favor, but the price was high. The loss of ships, the death of soldiers, and the destruction of warships were heavy reminders of the cost of fighting for survival. Bonner allowed himself a brief moment to mourn for the fallen, but only a moment. There was no time for grief, only time to fight, to survive, and to show the Empire that humanity would not go down without a fight. The first encounter was over, but the war was just beginning. After their surprise victory, Earth's fleet found itself facing the daunting reality of a war that was only just beginning. The Empire's initial response had been brutal, but the unexpected appearance of Earth's warships had thrown them into disarray. However, the Galactic Empire was not the type of power to be deterred by one loss. Soon, the true extent of their power would be revealed. As Earth's fleet regrouped and assessed the damage from the first encounter, the dark shadow of the Galactic Empire loomed larger. The Empire's forces, though shocked and wounded, were still vast, far more powerful and well-equipped than Earth's fleet. The first wave of the Empire's retaliation arrived with terrifying speed. Ships appeared out of nowhere, emerging from hyperspace like shadows closing in on their prey. The enemy fleet was overwhelming, numbering in the millions. Their ships were colossal, towering over Earth's fleet, each bristling with weapons far superior to anything humanity had developed. The tension on Earth's side was palpable. The mood among the soldiers was a mixture of fear and determination. The first battle had shown that Earth was not weak, that humanity had the will to fight, but now, they were about to face a new threat, a technologically superior foe that was determined to crush them. General Bonner and his commanders knew that their chances of survival were slim, but they had no choice but to continue the fight. The human warships were already spread thin after the first battle, and now they were about to face an overwhelming onslaught. As the Empire's fleet approached, the human ships prepared for another round of combat. The enemy's armada moved like a storm, a massive wall of destruction aimed at Earth's defenses. The Empire had deployed new weapons, more advanced than anything the humans had seen before. AI-controlled ships, designed to think and react faster than any human could, began to swarm Earth's fleet, overwhelming the human defenses. These ships were faster, more efficient, and armed with energy weapons that made Earth's shields seem like paper. Despite their superior numbers and technology, the Empire underestimated one thing: human ingenuity. Earth's commanders had always believed in outsmarting their enemies rather than relying solely on firepower, and that belief was about to be put to the test once again. As the battle erupted, the visuals were overwhelming. The dark expanse of space was lit up by the flashes of energy weapons, each explosion sending ripples through the void. Earth's warships fought back with everything they had, but they were facing an enemy that was simply too powerful. The AI-controlled ships of the Empire seemed unstoppable, moving with deadly precision, cutting through Earth's defenses with ease. The once nimble human ships now found themselves struggling to keep up with the relentless assault. But even as the tide turned against them, the human soldiers fought on, determined not to give up. Among them was Captain Rhea, one of the fleet's most skilled pilots. She had led her squadron through the first battle, and now she would lead them again. As the battle raged on, she realized that the only way for Earth to survive was to make a sacrifice. The Empire's forces were too numerous, their technology too advanced. There was no way for Earth's fleet to win this fight through brute force alone. But there was another way. In a desperate move, Captain Rhea ordered her ship to charge headlong into the heart of the Empire's fleet. Her plan was simple but dangerous. By sacrificing her ship, she would create a diversion that would allow the rest of the fleet to escape. The Empire's forces, focused on her ship, would give the remaining human ships the time they needed to retreat and regroup. As Captain Rhea's ship sped toward the heart of the enemy's fleet, she transmitted a final message to Earth. It was short, but the words were filled with emotion. To those who fight on, remember that we are humanity, and we never surrender. Her ship collided with the heart of the Empire's forces, causing a massive explosion that rocked the enemy fleet. For a moment, the Empire's ships faltered, and in that instant, Earth's remaining warships were able to break through, escaping the most intense part of the battle. But the cost was enormous. Captain Rhea's ship was gone, and with it, the lives of everyone aboard. Her sacrifice had saved countless others, but it had come at the ultimate price. On Earth's side, the emotional weight of the sacrifice was felt deeply. General Bonner and his crew knew that without Rhea's selfless act, the fleet would have been doomed. The cost of victory had been high, and the emotional toll on the soldiers was evident. Bonner's voice cracked as he addressed the fleet, telling them that their fallen comrades would not be forgotten. As the battle continued to rage, Earth's soldiers clung to the belief that they could still win. They knew that they were the underdogs, that they were fighting against a technologically superior enemy. But they also knew that they had something the Empire didn't: the will to fight, to sacrifice, and to protect their home. But as the fleet retreated to regroup, General Bonner couldn't help but wonder, how long could Earth keep up this fight? The Empire's forces were vast, their technology unbeatable. Was humanity too small to take on such a powerful enemy? In the quiet moments after the battle, as Earth's warships limped back to safety, Bonner allowed himself to reflect on the cost of the conflict. So many had already died, and the war was far from over. The emotional weight of Rhea's sacrifice hung heavy in the air. Her final words echoed in his mind: "We are humanity, and we never surrender." The fleet had survived this round, but the question remained: how long could they keep surviving? How much longer could they fight against an enemy so much stronger than themselves? The uncertainty was unbearable, but Bonner knew one thing for certain: Earth had shown the Empire that they were not to be underestimated. Humanity had proven that they would fight, no matter the cost. They would fight with everything they had, even if it meant facing an overwhelming and technologically superior force. The war was far from over, but the spark of hope had been lit. Now, Earth's fate rested on their ability to keep fighting, to keep pushing back against the Empire's forces, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. As the fleet sailed into the distance, preparing for the next battle, Bonner's voice filled the communication channels. "This is not over. Earth will rise again." And with that, the stage was set for the next phase of humanity's war against the Galactic Empire. The battle between humanity and the Galactic Empire had reached its boiling point. The odds were heavily stacked against Earth. The Empire's technology, sheer numbers, and overwhelming firepower made Earth's forces seem like nothing more than a small, insignificant speck in the vastness of space. However, despite the devastation they had suffered and the overwhelming power of their enemy, humanity was not ready to give up. Earth's fleet, battered and broken from the last battle, was on the verge of collapse. The Empire's forces had pushed them to the brink of destruction, but humanity had one final trick left up its sleeve. It was a technology that had been hidden away, a weapon so powerful and dangerous that it was only used in the most desperate of circumstances: the gravity bomb. For years, Earth's top scientists and engineers had worked in secret, developing this technology. It was a weapon that could warp space-time itself, creating gravity wells powerful enough to crush entire fleets of ships. The gravity bomb was capable of distorting the fabric of space, bending it in such a way that enemy ships could be pulled into a crushing force, rendering their defenses useless. As the Empire's fleet advanced once again, confident in their impending victory, the human commanders knew that it was time to unleash this devastating weapon. General Bonner and his top officers quickly formulated a plan to activate the gravity bomb, a last-ditch effort to turn the tide of the war. The fate of humanity rested on this one final chance. The visuals were beyond anything the humans had ever imagined. As the gravity bombs activated, they emitted a low hum, growing louder with each passing moment. Then, without warning, the gravity wells appeared. Enemy ships, previously soaring confidently through space, suddenly found themselves pulled toward the invisible force. The pull was immense, crushing, distorting, and warping the space around them. Ships that had been once too powerful to touch were now helplessly drawn into the crushing gravity wells, their engines sputtering, their shields collapsing under the immense pressure. The chaos that followed was unimaginable. Ships that had once dominated the battlefield were now helpless against the pull of the gravity wells. Massive explosions rang out as entire sections of the Empire's fleet were ripped apart. The once mighty Armada, so sure of its superiority, was now caught in disarray. The power that the Empire had relied on for so long was being shattered before their eyes, all because of the unexpected technology that Earth had kept hidden. Meanwhile, Earth's remaining warships, though battered and bruised, pushed forward with renewed determination. They had been on the defensive for so long, but now they saw a glimmer of hope. The gravity bombs had thrown the Empire's forces into chaos, and Earth's warships, emboldened by this unexpected advantage, pressed their attack. The dogfights that ensued were brutal. Robotic soldiers, their bodies built for close-range combat, fought with incredible speed and precision. The clashing of metal and the sound of energy weapons firing in the dark expanse of space created a cacophony of noise and light. Ships zipped through the chaos, avoiding enemy fire while unleashing their own powerful weapons. Humanity's strategy was simple: keep pushing forward, no matter the cost. Each ship that went down was a painful loss, but the remaining warships fought on with everything they had. The soldiers and pilots knew that this was their last chance. If they didn't succeed now, Earth would be doomed. But there was something that the Empire hadn't counted on: the human spirit. As Earth's warships continued to inflict damage on the Empire's fleet, the once invincible enemy began to falter. Their superior numbers were no longer enough to guarantee victory. The gravity bombs had turned the tide of the war in humanity's favor, and the Empire's fleet was now scrambling to recover. The Empire's commanders could see that their forces were falling apart. The advanced, eye-controlled ships, once their greatest asset, were now useless against the unpredictable and chaotic nature of the battle. The Empire's fleet was too large, too slow to adapt, and their technology, while advanced, was no match for the human will to survive. General Bonner stood at the helm, his heart pounding as he watched the disarray unfold on the screen. The once powerful enemy was now in retreat, their fleets scattering in every direction. The unexpected tactics and the gravity bombs had turned the battle around, and Earth's warships, though battered and fewer in number, were pressing the attack. Bonner's voice rang out over the communication channels. "Push forward. We can win this. We're not done yet." The Empire's response was swift. Their remaining forces regrouped and attempted to mount a counterattack, but the damage was done. Humanity had struck a blow that the Empire had not expected. The tide of the war was shifting, and for the first time, Earth had the upper hand. The dogfights grew more intense as Earth's fleet pressed forward. Each ship that went down, each pilot lost, added weight to the emotional burden of the battle. Yet, despite the heavy losses, the humans pushed on. The soldiers fought not just for victory, but for their home. They fought for their families, for their planet, and for the future of humanity. The visuals in space were breathtaking. Gravity wells continued to pull enemy ships into crushing forces, causing them to explode in massive fireballs. Explosions lit up the darkness of space, and beams of energy from Earth's ships cut through the Empire's forces. The chaos that erupted was unlike anything the Empire had ever seen, and it was all because of Earth's unexpected weapon, the gravity bomb. Despite the chaos and the violence, there was a sense of triumph in the air. Humanity had shown the Empire that they were not to be underestimated. They had faced overwhelming odds, had been pushed to the brink of destruction, and yet they had fought back. They had used their intelligence, their willpower, and their secret weapon to turn the tide of the war. The Empire's forces began to retreat, their once mighty fleet in disarray. The numbers that had once been their greatest strength were now their greatest weakness. They couldn't keep up with the unexpected tactics that Earth had used. The Empire, which had seen itself as unstoppable, was now on the run. The battle raged on, but the outcome was clear. Humanity had won this round. The Empire, for all its might, had been outwitted by the humans' ingenuity and determination. General Bonner looked out over the battlefield, the chaos slowly subsiding as Earth's warships continued their assault. "This is just the beginning," he muttered to himself. "We're not done yet." Humanity had struck a blow against the Empire, and it was a blow that would be felt across the galaxy. But this battle was far from over. The Empire would not give up easily, and Earth's forces knew that the war was not yet won. But for the first time in this long, desperate struggle, humanity had shown that they were not just fighting for survival. They were fighting for victory. And in this battle, they had proven that, no matter the odds, they would never back down. The final battle had come, and the galaxy held its breath. After months of brutal conflict, the Empire's fleet was in disarray. The unexpected force Earth had unleashed. The gravity bombs had turned the tide in humanity's favor, but the war was not over. Earth's forces had fought tirelessly to secure their survival, but the most critical battle was still ahead. Now, humanity had to face the heart of the Empire itself. The flagship of the Galactic Empire, the heart of its vast armada, was still operational. This massive vessel was more than just a warship. It was a symbol of the Empire's might, and its destruction would signify the end of an era. For the first time in history, Earth's warships were preparing to engage in a battle that could shift the balance of the galaxy forever. General Bonner stood aboard the command deck of Earth's flagship, staring out at the Imperial forces. His mind raced as he thought of the many sacrifices that had led to this moment. The brave soldiers who had given their lives, the fallen pilots, and the countless citizens who had lost everything to keep the fight going. But now, they were on the verge of a victory that would resonate throughout the galaxy. The Empire had underestimated humanity, and that had been their greatest mistake. As Earth's warships aligned for their final assault, the Empire's fleet began to regroup. Despite their crushing losses, they were still formidable, their advanced eye-controlled ships and energy weapons giving them an edge in the battlefield. But Earth had learned to fight smart, and this time, it would not be the Empire's superior numbers that would win the day. The battle began with a deafening roar as both fleets collided in a storm of laser fire and explosions. Earth's warships, battered but resilient, unleashed everything they had. The Empire's ships fought back with their advanced weaponry, but it was clear that the tides of war had shifted. Humanity had become a force to be reckoned with. The flagship of the Galactic Empire, a ship so massive that it seemed to blot out the stars, loomed in the distance. This was the heart of the Empire's war machine, and destroying it would mean the end of the conflict. General Bonner's flagship, along with several other Earth vessels, made their way toward the enemy flagship, weaving through enemy fire and avoiding the devastating energy beams that sliced through space. As the Earth ships closed in on the Empire's flagship, an intense silence fell over the battlefield. The moment of reckoning had arrived. Bonner's fingers hovered over the controls, and with a quick order, the gravity bombs were activated once more. The gravitational pull intensified, distorting space and time, creating massive rifts in the Empire's formation. Then the unthinkable happened. The Empire's flagship, the symbol of their power, was caught in the gravity well. The gravitational forces tore the massive ship apart, its once impenetrable hull buckling under the immense pressure. The flagship of the Empire, which had been feared by all, exploded in a massive fireball. It was a stunning visual, bright flashes of energy, the collapse of a titanic structure, and the end of the Empire's iron grip on the galaxy. The shockwave of the explosion sent ripples through space. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. The Empire's fleet, disoriented by the loss of their flagship, began to falter. Without their leader, their coordination broke down. Ships that had once moved with unyielding precision were now scattered, vulnerable, and unorganized. Humanity's warships pressed the advantage, attacking relentlessly. The last remnants of the Empire's forces fought with desperation, but it was clear that the battle was lost. Earth's victory was all but assured. The fleet continued to press forward, decimating the remaining Imperial ships with a mixture of energy weapons, gravity bombs, and sheer determination. On the ground, back on Earth, celebrations erupted. People gathered in cities and towns across the globe, watching as the victory was broadcast to every corner of the planet. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had defeated the Galactic Empire. The emotion was overwhelming, a mixture of joy, relief, and disbelief. People hugged, cried, and cheered, knowing that they had not just survived, they had triumphed. The emotional core of the story came through as General Bonner stood on the bridge, his face grim as he watched the last of the Empire's fleet crumble. He had seen so many lives lost, so many sacrifices made, but it was all worth it now. Humanity had fought for their freedom, and they had earned it. He thought of the soldiers who had given their lives to protect Earth and to secure a future for generations to come. Their memories would live on in the victory they had secured. Earth stands free, Bonner whispered to himself, a tear slipping down his cheek. It was a simple statement, but it meant everything. After years of being oppressed, after struggling against impossible odds, humanity had proven that they would never bow to anyone. They were no longer slaves to the Empire. They were free, and the galaxy would remember their name. A message was broadcast across the galaxy, a message from Earth to every corner of the known universe. It was simple, yet powerful. We are not your slaves. We are humanity, and we stand free. The words echoed throughout the stars, a declaration of independence that would resonate through the ages. The Empire had fallen, and the galaxy was now entering a new era, one where humanity would be at the center of it all. But as the celebrations continued, a new reality began to set in. While Earth had won this battle, the war was far from over. There were still forces out there, forces that had watched the Empire fall and would not rest until they had secured their own place in the galaxy. The defeat of the Galactic Empire was only the beginning of humanity's journey. As the camera panned across Earth's warships, floating victorious in the void, General Bonner's voice cut through the celebrations. This is not the end. This is only the beginning. It was a reminder that though they had won this battle, their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, and there were still enemies out there, enemies who would test humanity's resolve. Yet, for the first time in history, humanity had shown that it could not only survive but thrive. They had proven themselves as warriors, not just survivors. And as they looked to the future, they knew that whatever threats lay ahead, they would face them together as a united force. The new dawn of humanity had arrived. The Empire was no more, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The story of Earth's victory had been written in the stars, but the next chapter was still to be told. And so, as the stars twinkled overhead, humanity prepared for the next phase of its journey. The war was over, but the fight for the future was just beginning.